And when we stop pretending and hiding and humbly bring our loneliness to the Lord, his presence becomes the place where healing can begin. So today, we're going to turn more directly to the first of those two relationship fractures, alienation from ourselves, and how that interior division leads to alienation from others. When something is unsettled inside us, staying connected to others becomes harder. And that's where today's gospel meets us. Jesus says, "You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." He doesn't say, try harder to become those things. He says, you are. Jesus is not giving us tasks. He's naming who we already are. But what does that mean? You usually notice salt when it's missing, right? Salt exists to bring out flavor. And light, a candle in an empty room serves no purpose. Light exists to illuminate shared spaces and guide the way. Neither exists for itself, and neither do we. So when Jesus says, you are salt and light, he's reminding us that we're meant for connection, meant for relationship, meant to touch other people's lives. And yet, sometimes that's not how we experience ourselves at all. Sometimes we get worn down, we get hurt, we feel uncertain. And without realizing it, we turn inward. We start to say things like, I'm not myself today. I feel off. I don't know what's wrong with me. Or we're invited to something we used to enjoy, and we come up with 10 reasons why we can't make it. This is interior alienation. We're still functioning on the outside, still showing up to work, still responding to texts, smiling when we're supposed to. But inside, we're guarded. We're less at ease with ourselves. Now, sometimes, though, pulling back is necessary. After traumatic loss or deep exhaustion, quiet and rest give us the room to breathe and the strength to re-engage. But when that inward turn lasts too long, when it becomes the only place we live, interior loneliness deepens and we start to feel stuck. Even when we know connection would help, it takes more effort than we feel we have, and it seems out of reach. Loneliness, though, isn't a failure. I like to think of it as like a canary in a coal mine. It's an early warning that something inside needs attention. Because left unattended, loneliness begins to shape how we relate to others. We don't stop caring about people, but we do become more guarded, less patient, less available. We stay polite, but not fully present. We know what this looks like. Someone asks us, how are you? And you say, good. Busy, but good, with a smile that closes the conversation. Or a spouse asks, what's wrong? And you say, nothing, when the real answer would take more energy than you have. Everything still looks fine on the outside. We're still social, still doing what's expected, but inside we know something is not right. We start declining invitations, avoiding people, checking out during conversations, or staying up late because it's the only time we feel like ourselves. We're tired and lonely, even in a crowded room. So this is where Jesus' warning in today's gospel begins to make sense. He says salt can lose its flavor. Light can be hidden. Not because salt stops being salt, not because light stops being light, but because they stop making contact. Salt that stays in the shaker never seasons anything. Light that stays covered never illuminates the room. when interior loneliness turns into distance from others, something vital gets lost. Each of us here, in this place, at this moment, is here for a reason. Our presence matters. Not perfectly, not all at once, but as we're able, when we listen when someone needs to be heard, or we offer steadiness when things feel uncertain, the way we show up even when it's hard. Not someday, not somewhere else, but here and now. And if we pull back, the world loses something that only we can bring. And our first reading is clear about what happens, though, when we choose presence instead of withdrawal. Isaiah says in the first reading, "Your light shall break forth, your wound shall be healed, your gloom shall become like the noonday." What feels dark inside, what feels lonely or closed in, doesn't have to stay that way. God meets our willingness to open outward by filling us inward with the light of his presence. So the invitation this week is intentionally simple. Choose one moment to more fully engage and not pull away. Maybe it's putting your phone away when you're with people. Maybe it's answering honestly when someone asks how you're doing. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you've been avoiding. One conversation where you stay present. One situation where you resist the urge to withdraw. Because we were made for connection, and loneliness begins to heal when we stop disappearing. Then I'd like to offer another concrete way to live that out this Lent. Consider joining one of our small groups. They're starting just after Lent begins, and they're going to meet regularly to reflect on upcoming scripture readings, and there's nothing you need to prepare for. You just need to show up. And maybe that's exactly the kind of connection you've been missing. A simple way to stay present with others. Now, I know they advertised small groups last week in the bulletin, but not this week, and hopefully they will again next week. But if you're interested, just contact the small group coordinator whose information's in the bulletin, Beth Beebe, or just pop into the office. And next week, in the final week of our Home Alone series, we're then going to turn to the third dimension of loneliness, our relationship with God.